All right, so buckle up because today we're diving deep into a story that's got it all.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking about a listener request, actually.
Okay, cool.
Someone wanted us to dig into the life of Les Darcy,
Les Darcy, an Australian legend.
a boxing legend to be exact. And, when we get requests, we deliver.
All right, let's do it.
So this guy, Les Darcy, he was like a real-life Rocky, except, well,
With a bit more tragedy, you could say.
yeah, a bit more tragic, unfortunately. We're talking international controversy, sneaking onto ships, even some wartime drama. It's a wild ride.
It really is. It's not just about boxing, it's about a guy caught in the currents of history.
Exactly. So let's rewind back to the beginning. Picture this. Australia, 1895. Les Darcy is born in Maitland, New South Wales. Not exactly born into a life of luxury.
No silver spoon there. In fact, he started out as an apprentice blacksmith.
A blacksmith. Talk about a tough gig.
Hard work for sure, but it probably helped him build the strength and resilience he'd later need in the ring.
Makes sense. So how does a blacksmith become a boxing star?
Well, seems he had a natural talent for it. Started boxing professionally at just 14.
14. You're kidding?
Nope. That's how good he was. And word got around fast, he became a huge draw at Sydney Stadium.
I can only imagine. I mean, boxing back then, it was like the ultimate entertainment.
It was, and Darcy was a real showman. But there was more to it than just spectacle. He had this incredible speed, this scientific approach to boxing.
Scientific boxing. What does that even mean?
Well, back then, a lot of boxing was just brawling, slugging it out. Darcy was different. He studied his opponents, used his agility and technique to outmaneuver them. He was ahead of his time in a lot of ways.
Sounds like you had a good mentor, too. Did you mention a guy named Snowy Baker?
Ah, Snowy Baker. Another fascinating character. He was a champion athlete himself, a real promoter, and he saw the potential in Darcy. He took him under his wing, helped him develop his skills, and marketed him to the public. Darcy owed a lot to Snowy.
So with all this talent and support, you'd think he would have been a world champ, no problem.
You'd think so, right? But things weren't that simple.
What got in the way?
Well, the boxing world back then was messy. Lots of competing organizations, disputes over titles, and frankly, a lot of politics.
Oh, the good old boxing politics. Never a shortage of that, it seems.
Exactly. Even though Darcy was undefeated in Australia, he beat some top-ranked American boxers, too. He couldn't quite get that official world title shot.
So he was like the people's champion, but not officially recognized.
That's a good way to put it. They called him the uncrowned champion. He was a hero to many, but there were always these roadblocks in his way.
Must have been frustrating for the guy.
You can imagine. And then World War I broke out and things got even more complicated.
Yeah, the war. How could we forget that?
Right. Now remember, Darcy was Irish Catholic.
And this was a time when anti-Irish sentiment was running high in Australia, wasn't it?
Absolutely. There was a lot of pressure on him to enlist, to prove his loyalty.
So he was caught between a rock and a hard place. Serve his country or pursue his dreams in America.
Exactly. Talk about a tough decision. He did actually enlist at one point.
You did.
Yeah, but get this, they discharged him because he was underage.
Oh, wow. What a twist.
Mm,
But I guess that didn't stop him.
not at all. Remember that burning ambition we talked about? He was determined to get to America, so he took a drastic step. He stowed away on a ship.
No way. He literally snuck onto a ship.
He did. Talk about a risky move, but it shows you just how badly he wanted to make it in the boxing world. And when he arrived in New York, he got a hero's welcome.
They loved him in America.
Oh, yeah. The American press was all over him. They were excited to see this undefeated Australian sensation. Big fights were being planned. It seemed like he was finally on his way to achieving his dreams.
But I have a feeling this is where things take a turn for the worse, aren't I right?
Sadly, yes. Word got back to Australia about how he left. The governor of New York got involved.
Oh no, here come the politics again.
Right. It was a big mess. Under pressure from Australian authorities, the governor banned a major fight Darcy was supposed to have.
So suddenly, he goes from hero to villain.
Pretty much. The press turned on him, called him a deserter. He was ostracized. His boxing career in America was basically over.
Man, that's heartbreaking. From the top of the world to public enemy number one.
It was a brutal fall from grace. Eventually, the ban was lifted, but the damage was done.
So what happened next?
He struggled to get fights. The controversy lingered, It was a tough time. He actually applied for U.S. citizenship, even joined the U.S. Flying Corps.
Really, the flying corps, like to be a pilot.
Yep. Maybe he was looking for redemption, a new start, who knows. But sadly, his story ends in tragedy. He got sick. Really sick.
This is the part I was dreading.
Yeah, in 1917, he died in Memphis. He was only 21.
21 years old.
Uh,
Unbelievable. What a waste of talent.
It was a shock to everyone. Septicemia and pneumonia, they said. His fiancée, Winnie O'Sullivan, she was with him at the end.
Ah, that's so sad. It's hard to imagine what she must have gone through.
It really is. When the news reached Australia, the country went into mourning.
He was still a hero to them, even after everything.
Absolutely. He was brought back home, buried in Maitland. Thousands lined the streets for his funeral processions in both San Francisco and Sydney.
A true legend, even if his life was cut way too short.
No doubt about it. And his story still resonates today. It's about so much more than boxing, you know? It's about ambition, duty, the complexities of war, and the fickle nature of fame.
Makes you think, doesn't it?
Well,
What do you think drove Les Darcy? Was it the dream of becoming champion, the pressure to prove his loyalty, or something else entirely? And how might his story have played out differently in today's world, with social media and global sports? It's a lot to ponder. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the life of Les Darcy. It's a story that stays with you.
definitely does.
And that's a wrap on another deep dive. See you next time.
See you then.
Catch you later.
Later.